Hey everybody, this is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous good-looking friends. Today's video it might be a little redundant for some of you. However, I do feel that it is an important topic that needs to be reinforced, and I have some new data that I'd like to present to everybody. I'm opening up this video with my favorite Meghan Markle staged pop walk for a reason. People are now finally opening their eyes and seeing this couple for what they are, lying, lazy grifters. I figure it would make sense to strike while the iron's hot and bring up again another massive lie that is potentially the monkey wrench in Meghan and Harry's IPP status case with the UK office. From the very beginning, when Meghan and Harry decided to launch the news that they were stepping back without getting any kind of approvals or consultation with the family, Meghan Markle had put up on her website, sussexroyal.com, that they were classified as internationally protected people. Well, we all know that the Queen swatted that down and made Meghan remove it from the website. This couple knew as early as January that their security and their status was put in jeopardy because these two idiots didn't think it through and they assumed that they were going to get what they wanted with this half in, half out. When the Queen smacked it down at the summit that was dated January 13th, 2020, these two went into scheming and plotting to then come up with their plan B. For those that don't remember, this stage pap walk was done, or it was published and leaked by the Daily Mail on January 20th. At the time, it was reported that Meghan was in Canada while Harry was on his way back from the UK. The very next day, on January 21st, 2020, this article was updated to reflect that Harry had flown in later that evening and was reunited with his precious Meghan. At the time, few people found that it was strange that Meghan was caught papped while Harry was on his way back with an unsuccessful agreement. Many thought that, of course, this was staged and that wasn't a real child that Meghan was walking with, because why would she be smiling like the cat that ate the canary, right? Anyhow, it was just something really off about it. At the same time, Harry is also papped at the airport, and the photographs that were taken were quite close. Now, being that we know what we know now about the media and the press, looking at this again, it sure does appear that Harry is very much aware that there are photographers taking photos of him. This proximity to get these shots definitely would have had to give him permission for these journalists and photographers to have tarmac access, which means it's highly likely that Harry tipped the journalists off to let them know that he was going to be there and gave approval for them to have access. As you can see, Sky News had been reporting it, and it's time-stamped on January 21st, 2020. Don't forget that the day before, Meghan was dominating the headlines with walking with that doll. I can't believe that these two con artists have gotten away with so much. They have completely deceived the entire world about their story. I'm sure you're like, yeah, what's new? No, but here's the next level crazy. You see that security guy that's next to Meghan? Let's call him Baldy. Well, Baldy has been with the Sussexes since their time as royals. You will see him a lot of times being the one that is covering Harry wherever he's going. Recently, we saw him when he was attending his court cases, and he also was with them in New York. I am sure that this guy has seen a lot of things and knows exactly where the bodies are buried. So I would like to ask Baldy, how is it that he was with Harry in London, protecting Harry from all the evil paparazzi, and at the same time with Meghan, protecting her on her stage pap walk? This psychopath was 100% aware of what Meghan was doing. And being that the security guy was with Meghan, we can also draw the conclusion that this was done before they went over to the UK, which means Harry was also home when this happened. So Baldy is the main security guy watching Harry. He's always with him. As you can see here during this fake royal tour, he was protecting Harry while Chris Sanchez, I believe, was protecting Meghan. Now, before we get back to this revelation, if you like this video so far, please give me a thumbs up so it can reach more people. And if you feel like sharing it, I would be so grateful because I think this is newsworthy because what I'm about to get into is then also going to make people see that these two are the ultimate frauds. As I have just demonstrated to you, Meghan and Harry have been manipulating and deceiving the public from the very beginning. At that time, their accomplices, Doria, Jessica Mulroney, I am not sure about Marcus Anderson, but I'm sure he's in there somewhere. Doria is also part of this grift because all of a sudden in January of 2020, she's being papped all over the place, and the people who are taking these photos are, you guessed it, backward. We all know now that these pap walks that are done are not published on the spot. In fact, we see that the celebrities have some type of control as to when these photos are released. In this case, I wouldn't be surprised if Doria's photos were taken in advance and then released to throw the world off. You see, Doria went to spend Christmas with the Harkles in Canada at the end of December 2019. And she stayed there with Archie, and Jessica Mulroney flew over to watch Archie while Meghan and Harry went to the UK to meet with the Queen to talk about this stepping back. And that was January 6th through the 9th. And here, this proves my point. How could Doria be photographed on January 11th, 2020, when she's supposed to be with her daughter in Vancouver when this negotiation was happening? The summit was January 13th, 2020. Now, this is the really important part of this video. I had done in another video explaining why I believe that Meghan and Harry were in California way before they told the world that they were in California. And the story that they told on Oprah and on Netflix and in the book is inconsistent because they lied. Here's that portion of that video for a refresher. Which brings me to revisiting this case that the Harkles filed back in July of 2020. Apparently, they got wind that X17, it's almost a low-grade TMZ, had been shopping photos of Archie, claiming that he was caught papped in Malibu. Let me read the first couple paragraphs so you understand what this case is about. So it says, plaintiffs Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, are the parents of Archie, who is 14 months old. At the beginning of this year, the plaintiffs announced their intention to reside at least part-time in North America in an attempt to escape the incessant UK tabloid attention. Their first stop was North Saanich, Canada. Their peaceful stay lasted until a British tabloid published their exact location. After dozens of paparazzi and media organizations descended on the quiet, isolated town from hundreds of miles away, the plaintiffs moved to a gated community in the greater Los Angeles area. Here, too, they lived peacefully for 6 weeks. Until, once again, because Meghan's so famous and so special, their exact location was published. Within hours, paparazzi set up hundreds of yards away up on the ridgetop overlooking the residence, hoping to capture photographs of the family. Despite the large mesh fence they had erected to guard against telephoto lenses, the plaintiffs have been unable to shield themselves from the paparazzi. Some have flown drones a mere 20 feet above the house as often as 3 times a day. Others have flown helicopters above the backyard of the residence as early as 5:30 a.m. and as late as 7 p.m. day after day. And still, Others have even cut holes in the security fence itself to peer through it. The family did their best to ignore these physical and constructive trespasses until they learned that someone is shopping photographs of Archie to tabloids in the United States and the United Kingdom. The unscrupulous actors shopping these photos claim to have taken them on a recent public outing in Malibu. But Archie has not been in public, right, because he's a hostage, let alone the Malibu, since the family arrived here. Rather, it is clear that photographs were taken of activities in the private yard of the residence unbeknownst to the plaintiffs. This is not an innocent mistake, but an intentional attempt to evade liability under California law for obtaining unsolicited photographs of a young child in the privacy of his own backyard, most likely by drone or telephoto lens. So, as I was going through this document, I started to notice a couple things that struck me as a little odd. So, in this paragraph, when they first initiated this lawsuit that was filed on July 23rd, 2020, it says the true identities of John Does 1 and 2 are currently unknown. However, prior to instituting this action, the plaintiffs' representatives issued requests to several photographic agencies, including Backgrid and Splash, for Archie's information. So they went to these two places that Megan has on speed dial and asked for this information, kind of like what they did in New York. And what they're saying here, under the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, neither agency responded. So already this is bizarre because they don't know who John Doe 1 and 2 are, but they filed a lawsuit. They've gone to Backgrid and Splash and they didn't respond. However, there was a rumor that there were photos being shopped around of Archie. And then on July 6th, it's saying here that they had posted on their website that they were selling 26 images of Archie and Doria. Then if you see a bullet number 4, it does go into a little bit more detail to say that Megan had contacted Splash, Backgrid, USA, and Coleman Rayner and asked them to provide Archie's information, including the photographs at issue, pursuant to the GDPR regulation. Coleman Rayner responded that they were not in possession of or shopping the images. Neither Splash nor Backgrid responded. So, out of curiosity as to why would Coleman Rayner and Backgrid have to give photos over in compliance to GDPR regulation if they were taken in California? And those are two California companies headquartered here in the United States. Only Splash would be, I want to say, responsible for the GDPR rules because they're headquartered in London. And then number 5 is pure manipulation. So BuzzFeed reports the existence of 26 images of Archie and his maternal grandmother dated July 6th that were made available for sale. And then they list the website. But this case was filed on July 23rd, and Ellie Hall was the one who reported on it the very next day, just regurgitating what the original filing had said, which is exactly what I just read to you. So now we have this case that's making it look like, yes, X17 was advertising this on their website. Nobody's seen the pictures, by the way. Megan's lawyers in this document expressed a real sense of urgency in getting these photos back. Now, I can understand that you don't want photos of your child being put out there. That obviously makes total sense. But when you look at the context of why they were asking for it, then you scratch your head and say, wow. And what I mean by that is that they were in a hustle, not because they truly wanted to protect Archie's privacy, but for other reasons that obviously are selfish. So as I read through this document, there are 3 exhibits. Exhibit A is tied to X17, which is the low-grade TMZ. Then there's exhibits B and C. B is tied to requests to Splash, and then C is tied to Backgrid. So when I look at the request for Exhibit A, it says here, request for production number 1, all documents constituting or reflecting sale or license agreements between you and the photographers of the 26 photographs of Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor dated on or about July 6, 2020 that have ever been offered for sale on your website. So this is the X17 low-grade TMZ. They ask for request for production number 2, all communications between you and the photographers of all photographs of Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor taken on or after March 15, 2020, including but not limited to those referenced in request for production number 1 related to those photographs. And then for request for production number 3, all photographs of Archie taken on or after March 15, 2020, including but not limited to those referenced in request for production number 1 in their native digital format with metadata intact. So I'm looking at this and saying, is this a typo? It says March 15, 2020. I thought maybe this was an error and they made a mistake. So I continue on, and the same exact requests are for Splash and Backgrid, with the exception of March 15 plastered on all 3 of the requests. And I said to myself, that doesn't make any sense, because at that time, Meghan and Harry were living in Canada and they were finishing off their last engagement. In the Netflix mockumentary, it was around March 12th when he was flying back to Canada then to discover that they had been papped. So why were they asking for these companies to turn over anything beginning as of March 15th when they weren't even in LA at that time? This document even emphasizes that they were in the US for a good 6 weeks without being noticed until the paparazzi found them. So why are they asking for any photos that begin after March 15th? Inquiring minds want to know. Let me go back to this database and check this out further. So now I'm looking at this and I notice the date. And they filed this on March 25th, 2020. So now this makes a whole lot of sense. I can't say that I'm surprised, but they even lied about this too. Those photos, they were taken in March of 2020. And Meghan was desperate to squash the story because she had everybody believing that they were in Canada. Remember, Archie did not go to the UK for their final engagement, and it was Doria that was watching him. Meghan, the sociopath, tried desperately to cover this up and used Jessica Mulroney as the person who was supposed to be watching Archie during the time that they were finishing out their last royal engagements. She had all the normal, traditional media outlets that pushed her propaganda put this out. Vanity Fair, Entertainment Tonight. Here, see for yourself.
Jessica was a source of strength for Meghan during some of her most difficult times, including when Jessica watched Meghan's newborn son Archie while she finished up business in the UK before stepping down from the royal family.
So here's the problem with that. Jessica Mulroney's husband's birthday is March 9th, and guess where Jessica was? Celebrating with her family in Toronto. What's even more important here is that Jessica's birthday is March 14th, the following week. Now, why is that important? Well, the post that she left on Instagram said this: quarantine birthday is the new rage, and I'm not mad about it. So here you go, guys. Confirmation that they were home. They weren't going anywhere, and Jessica Mulroney was nowhere near Vancouver to watch Archie. And because Meghan has to be in the news every damn day, she made an epic mistake by allowing this article to go out by the Express. In this article, it said, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have made 2 under-the-radar visits in the U.S. in recent weeks. Earlier this month, the couple were guests at a JP Morgan conference in Miami where Harry is reported to have delivered a speech. And last week, they attended a meeting at Stanford University in California in a bid to build up contacts for their Sussex Royal Charitable Foundation later this year. All of the traditional media outlets pushing Markle's propaganda pushed him out at the same time on February 13th, 2020. Meghan Markle got a lot of flack for not bringing Archie over to see his family one last time. By now, we know our Megs. She had to justify her actions and actually cover up for being a petty bitch. Fortunately for Meghan, she used the coronavirus as an excuse not to bring Archie over. Meghan instructed all preferred propaganda outlets to let people know that she left Archie in Canada, which was a lie because if she was really worried about coronavirus, then going to Stanford, going to Miami, and if he had been traveling back and forth to Vancouver, to LA, they would have been putting Archie at risk. And I do believe that around that time, international travel bans had begun. So it would not have been wise for them to be going back and forth to all these different places crossing the border. In addition, the following week, Meghan and Harry were off to the UK. So where would have Archie have been? The only other person he would be with would be Doria, and she was in LA at that time. Plus, according to The Sun, they had spoken to a source connected to the Leafy North American home, which is that mansion in Vancouver, and said that their accommodation there was a short term arrangement over the Christmas period. So this means that they had to be out of there. They couldn't have stayed till the middle of March. Doria was in LA with Archie, probably went outside in Tyler Perry's palatial gardens. Meghan got wind of this somehow, maybe found out that Splash had been trying to get photos in California and had her lawyers immediately slap down a cease and desist. So, fast forward a couple months later, I guarantee that Backgrid was trying to broker this and maybe sell it to TMZ, and TMZ wouldn't touch it. So they went to X17, and this is how this all unraveled. But what this is telling us here that Meghan and Harry were desperate to make sure that they got the names of the two people who took the photos so they can seize everything. And that's why the lawyers was so aggressive in getting this discovery order put in place and then shut this down quickly. Because why would they have filed about this back in March if this really happened in July? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they lied to the public and they did their very best to keep it contained until now. And this right now does mess up the press discovery intrusion story in Canada. This does mess up having to flee to Los Angeles on the Freedom Flight.
Good morning. It's 6 a.m. on the 14th of March, and we are on the Freedom Flight. We are leaving Canada, and we are headed to Los Angeles.
As you can see, their whole intention was to be deceitful. This little secret of keeping the lie of when you were actually in LA, and this jeopardized all their stories for Oprah, Netflix, Spare, and now these court cases. So this little scene of Doria on this freedom flight, my guess is that this was sometime in January. Doria had went over for the holidays and she had stayed there until it was time for them to leave after the holidays. Doria herself would not have been flying back and forth because she is a senior citizen. And in the beginning, that was where COVID took its toll on the senior citizens. She would not have risked her health like that. Now watch Doria lie through her teeth. She's blinking as if she's having a seizure.
It felt like they were running.
It felt like they were running.
Hi, so we're here. on Wednesday, the something of March.
Now watch Harry stumble, look around. He's clearly lying here.
These next few months is when we're going to be at our most vulnerable, when the press will no doubt create some sort of feeding frenzy.
And Netflix thought they were so slick to put in the clip that was from January 21st. As you can see here, they're talking about him coming back home in March, but they're using this clip to make it appear as if that was the flight he was on coming back home.
Of Sussex, stepping off his plane, as you can see there, clearly a number of questions.
Em asked me, would they remove our security? I said they'll never do that. Meghan's background, her heritage, the well-documented hate campaigns against us. She said, do you think they'll ever do it? I said, no, they would never do that. And they did it.
She said, do you think they'll ever do it? I said, no, they would never do that. And they did.
Harry and Meghan both need some serious help to do what they have done over the last 5 years. Where they are now, I think it's going to get worse, in my opinion. Harry and Meghan are both psychopaths, but the added layer to this is that Meghan is a malignant narcissist, the worst kind. And she is very dangerous, in my opinion. The reason why the media needs to pick this up and why I need the help of this community is to give this exposure. So somehow it bubbles up for someone in the media to put this on blast, because this throne of lies that Harry is sitting on is what he is using to fuel his court case for getting IPP back. That has to stop. This couple have lied from the very beginning. Meghan and Harry are dangerous, and to give a status like IPP, which gives them certain protections and immunities, it is for certain they will abuse that power and cause harm. This woman lied about everything, and Harry, he went along with all of it. I don't feel sorry for Harry because he equally was of sound mind in going along with this plan. Yes, both of them are extremely sick, and I do hope that they get the help that they need. But at the same time, they need to face consequences for all the lies that they have told and all the people that they have hurt. This saga is nowhere close to being over, but what do you guys think? As always, I will be back with more content. This saga is nowhere close to being over. What do you guys think? Definitely leave your comments below, and you guys know it. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye!
I was such a fraud.